To protect her plagiarizing first love, a consultant at our company, my wife, Isabella, used her authority as acting CEO to forge evidence and send me to prison. Faced with this carefully orchestrated frame-up, I was locked away for a year. When I got out, I was condemned by my fair-weather colleagues who didn't know the truth, and my reputation hit rock bottom. Seeing me so submissive and docile, Isabella was quite pleased. She promised to throw me a grand welcome-back party and even agreed to take me on a honeymoon afterward. But at that party, her first love, Leo, suddenly stormed the stage, knocked over the champagne tower, and threatened to kill himself. Isabella abandoned everyone on the spot and rushed him away, staying by his side in his luxury Chicago condo all night. She didn't call me until the following afternoon. "Leo is young and impulsive," she said. "You know how tech geniuses are. They all have a temper. I was afraid he'd actually do something, and the company can't afford to lose him. Besides," she continued, "while you were away, he did so much for the company. I couldn't just abandon him. It wouldn't have been right." I thought of the image of her rushing forward, clutching Leo in a tight embrace, and said nothing for a long time. Isabella assumed I had folded once again and started cheerfully discussing our honeymoon plans. But she had forgotten two things. I owned half of this company, and she had already signed the divorce papers while I was in prison. From the moment she walked out of that party, we were nothing more than hunter and prey. From now on, we were destined to be complete strangers. After hanging up, I went back to the office, where I was met with a barrage of mocking stares. So the great Davis gets publicly humiliated by his own wife and comes back without so much as a peep. A year in the slammer must have broken him. Now he's just mooching off her. You think he'd dare cross CEO Miller or her precious consultant, Leo? The chatter was just loud enough to reach my ears. If I were still the same hot-headed tech prodigy who couldn't tolerate any injustice, I would have shut them down with my skills on the spot. I might have even fired off a company-wide email to expose them. But now I just walked stone-faced to the desk they had shoved into a forgotten corner. The opportunists, seeing they weren't getting a reaction, lost interest. One of them muttered, "He's practically a cuckold, and he's still pretending to be above it all," before they shuffled back to their desks. A year in prison had burned away every last shred of my pride. Ever since Leo arrived, everyone at Apex Solutions knew about our twisted love triangle. Isabella and I went to Northwood University together. Back then, I was a star student with a limitless future. I eventually earned the trust of our company's founder and chairman, Mr. Harrison. The old man, who had no children of his own, was planning to give me half of the company. Isabella, on the other hand, was struggling to find a decent job. Wanting to help her, I anonymously sent her an offer from our company. Once she was hired, she got carried away, and her recklessness cost the company millions. I was the one who worked around the clock, launching new projects and securing investments to clean up her mess. I even handled the client dinners she refused to attend, drinking until I gave myself an ulcer to close deals in her name. I was so busy I barely slept, but one smile from her made all the hardship feel worthwhile. That all changed about a year ago when Isabella, against everyone's advice, hired her first love, Leo. He was a college dropout with nothing but some shady, self-taught hacking skills. Yet she forced him into our core RD department, calling it discovering a diamond in the rough. I didn't like it, but for her sake, I personally mentored him. I taught him everything step by step, from coding standards and system architecture to security protocols, hoping he could become a real asset. But Leo was all ambition and no skill. His fundamentals were weak, he was impatient, and he constantly made mistakes. The moment I offered any criticism, he would run to Isabella with some twisted version of the story. He claimed I was suppressing new talent and was jealous of his genius. I tried to defend myself, of course, but Isabella, without even trying to see the truth, stripped me of my authority over technical decisions. From that day forward, my life at the company became a living hell. I was forced to clean up the messes from every project Leo botched. She took an algorithmic framework I had poured my soul into and let Leo file a joint patent for it, listing his name first. Leo decided he didn't like the office decor, so I had to personally oversee the demolition and renovation. Then I had to scour the globe to procure the world's best equipment for his workstation. I used to think Isabella was just temporarily blinded by her history with him. That illusion shattered when the plagiarism investigation began. To protect Leo, Isabella conspired with a few bribed witnesses, used her power as acting CEO to fire me, and turn me over to the police. She instructed every lawyer she knew not to take my case. Against such a calculated betrayal, I was utterly defenseless. During that year in prison, she first sent her lawyer to tell me to behave. She promised that if I kept quiet, she would welcome me back to the company, and we could go on being a happy, loving couple. Then she visited me in person. I thought it meant she couldn't let me go. The truth was, she only came because she knew I was the best, the only one who could unconditionally solve Leo's problems. She wanted to use my feelings for her to ensure he was always protected. Once I saw her for who she truly was, all I could do was laugh bitterly. After my first day back at work, Mr. Harrison's executive assistant approached me and relayed a direct message from the chairman. The share transfer agreement has been ready for a long time. The moment you're done with that woman, you can sign it and take back what's yours. He added, but you'll have to clear your name yourself. The assistant delivered the message matter-of-factly and left. But I felt rooted to the spot in front of the building. I had carried the weight of that false conviction for a full year. Isabella actually believed I was the same obedient husband she could manipulate. She had miscalculated badly. I had already quietly laid an inescapable trap. All that was missing was the final piece of bait to lure the prey in. It was almost time. I called Mr. Harrison back and gave him my word. In 3 days, I would clear my name and reclaim my rightful place. After the call, I quickened my pace. I looked up only to see a stretch Lincoln pull up to the main entrance, surrounded by an adoring crowd. Leo emerged from the building at the same exact moment Isabella stepped out of the car, holding a large bouquet of flowers. Leo deliberately strode forward and gave her a hug, his eyes locking directly onto me in the shadows. It was a provocative display, a declaration that they were the happy couple basking in the spotlight. Isabella seemed surprised by the sudden embrace for a second, but then she smiled and wrapped her arms around him. I once asked Isabella to bring me flowers, but she always refused. She would retort as if I were ridiculous. "You're a man. What do you need flowers for? Stop thinking about such useless things." She always claimed to hate empty gestures, yet here she was performing this grand romantic ritual for him. Thinking back, it wasn't that she didn't understand romance. She just never wanted to share it with me. As Isabella got back into the car, Leo shot me one last triumphant look. A moment later, a voice memo arrived on my message. I played it. It was a recording of Leo's voice, smug and mocking. That night at the party, Isabella stayed at my place and comforted me all night. So gently, she even cried until her eyes were red. "Tell me, Davis, would she ever do that for you?" The proud Isabella had never spoken to me with such tenderness, let alone cried for me. I had seen Leo's manipulative tactics from the very beginning. When he first started trying to frame me for his mistakes, Isabella would at least pretend to investigate. Eventually, she stopped bothering. No matter how childish his schemes were, she would just chew me out and demand that I apologize to Leo. After the voice memo, a text from Leo popped up on my iMessage. "Hey Davis, I just wanted to say thanks for taking the fall for me. Sorry for all the trouble." Before I could even process it, my phone rang. It was Isabella. "Davis, Leo just sent you a message thanking you. Did you see it? Reply to him right now and tell him it was your duty." Her voice was sharp. "I'm warning you. Don't you dare pull rank on him. Don't forget, you answer to him at the office now." I have to answer to him. I couldn't help but laugh, which only infuriated Isabella more. "What's so funny? Do what I said right now, or don't blame me when I come down there and deal with you myself." I remained silent. But then, I heard Leo's voice in the background of the call. "Isabella, it's okay. Davis is probably just upset with me. It's normal for him to have a bit of an attitude." The moment he said that, I knew the conversation was over for me. Sure enough, Isabella's voice grew louder. "He's my husband. which means he's my subordinate. I told him to mentor you, so it's his job to fix your mistakes. You outrank him now. The fact that you're thanking him at all is a kindness. I calmly collected my thoughts, offering no rebuttal. Since words were useless, I would let the truth be my response. You just got out of prison, she continued. You need to learn your place. Leo and I went to a lot of trouble to get you back into this office. Frankly, you should be thanking him. But since you did make a sacrifice, I won't force you to do it in person. I heard Leo murmur something that made her burst out laughing. After a few moments of being ignored, she remembered I was still on the line. I've decided to give Leo a promotion and a raise. Consider that your way of repaying him. The next day, I had barely sat down at my desk when a beaming Isabella announced Leo's promotion to the entire office. She then declared she was treating everyone to a celebratory dinner at the Langham, the most luxurious hotel in Chicago. Davis, you'll be in charge of the arrangements. Make sure it's perfect. Without a word, I nodded, accepting a task meant for an administrative assistant. As if sensing my thoughts, Isabella leaned in and whispered, "You've planned events there before, so you have the experience. It's just more efficient this way." I knew why she chose that hotel. Back in college, a friend of hers and I had hosted a party at the hotel next door. So when Isabella landed her first big job, she insisted on celebrating there to one-up her friend. My own project was short on funds at the time, but for her, I spent a fortune to book the entire hotel for a 3-day party. I figured I could always make more money, but her happiness in that moment was priceless. She was ecstatic after that, smiling and showering me with praise for days. But after Leo arrived, she became arrogant and dismissive. She did nothing when the finance department deliberately withheld funding for my projects. Yet she initiated a massive HR shakeup just to fire a junior employee who dared to question Leo. She claimed it was all for the good of the company, yet she repeatedly rejected my proposals while greenlighting every half-baked project Leo came up with. My salary was meticulously calculated down to the last cent, with no bonuses, while Leo, with no track record, was pulling in a 7-figure salary. After taking a cab to the Langham, I remembered the embarrassing fact that I didn't have the money to book it. I called Isabella, who answered impatiently. "Didn't I tell you to book the hotel? What is it now?" When I explained the situation, she instantly transferred a massive sum to my account without a second thought. I thought about how just a few days ago, she had chewed me out for wanting to buy a single decent suit. The difference between who she loved and who she did not was painfully obvious. After finalizing the arrangements with the hotel manager, I turned to leave and ran right into Mr. Harrison. He wasn't surprised to see me at all. Instead, he simply nodded to his lawyer, Mr. Thompson, who handed me a folder. Looking at the graying hair at his temples, I felt a wave of guilt. Mr. Harrison had supported me from day one, treating me like a son. Even when I had nearly caused disasters to cover for Isabella's mistakes, he had never once held it against me. As if reading my mind, he said, "The company needs you, Davis. But more importantly, you need to prove yourself." I nodded gravely, handed his lawyer the evidence I had collected, and asked for a copy of Isabella's employment contract. According to her current contract, the lawyer, Mr. Thompson, said, even if she's terminated, the company is on the hook for a substantial severance package. I understood. I was the one who had negotiated that clause for her. It was a safety net because I worried her temper would get her into trouble. But that was then. She no longer deserves that money, I said. I left Mr. Thompson and returned to the office with a newly drafted contract in my briefcase. I'd hoped to lay low, but Isabella's assistant immediately summoned me to her office. "Look at this mess you've made." The moment I walked through the door, Isabella hurled a thick menu binder at me from across her desk. It struck me right in the head. Her assistant gasped and scurried out of the room, leaving us alone. I bent down and picked it up. It was the menu I had just finalized. Leo hates tropical fruit, and he's definitely allergic to shellfish. "Are you trying to kill him?" she shrieked. I looked at the menu, then back at her, and explained calmly, "No one told me." Isabella was momentarily speechless, but quickly recovered. "So you couldn't be bothered to ask? If I hadn't sent someone to double-check your work, how do you think Leo would have felt when the party started?" I scoffed. And what about me? At my welcome back party, did you stop to think about me? Realizing her hypocrisy, she softened her tone, a rare occurrence. Davis, Leo was unstable. I had to calm him down. If he had made a scene at the party, how would that have reflected on you in front of the entire company? Besides, she added, you had just gotten out of prison. Your reputation was in the gutter. You can't compare your situation to Leo's promotion. She reached out to touch my face, but I pulled away. The only reason I'm in this situation is because of him, isn't it? Her hand froze awkwardly in midair before clenching into a fist. He's just starting his career. He has so much potential. What would happen to his future if he went to prison? You're already established and successful. Can't you handle a little turbulence? And while you were gone, Leo did a lot for this company. We wouldn't be in this position without him. If Leo were so brilliant, I thought, why would he need to plagiarize in the first place? I said nothing more, letting her continue her delusional defense. Then she turned the blame back on me. Davis, your problem is you don't know how to play the game. If you just try to get along with Leo, people wouldn't have such a problem with you. I had heard enough. I took the documents out of my briefcase. Before I could say a word, she snatched them from my hand and signed her name without a second glance. Leo was just promoted. He needs some high-profile projects to bolster his resume. These will be perfect, she smirked. See? You're not completely useless. You still know how to prepare things for me. I looked down, a faint smile playing on my lips. Aren't you going to read the contracts? Isabella waved a dismissive hand. Why would I need to? I trust you to vet them. But as her pen finished the last signature, her eyes caught a familiar number on the page. This $5 million penalty clause. I was about to explain everything, but just then, the door swung open. Isabella, which of these suits do you think I should wear to the party tonight? Leo walked in, holding 2 designer suits, a smug grin spreading across his face when he saw me. Oh, Davis is here too. We should pick something out for you as well. After all, it doesn't look like you own any decent clothes. Before I could respond, Isabella stepped in front of him. He's not the guest of honor. Whatever he wears is fine. It doesn't matter. With that, she tossed the signed contracts at my chest. Now get out of here. Stop wasting our time. That was fine by me. It saved me the trouble of explaining things to her. I left her office, skipped the celebration party, and spent the evening finalizing the share transfer in my new appointment. As per my recommendation, Mr. Harrison had already selected a new acting CEO. All the pieces were in place. All that was left was for them to pay for their crimes. When I returned to the office the next afternoon, I found my workstation cleared out with my belongings thrown into a few cardboard boxes. My personal effects were piled up like garbage, and my computer was gone. I scanned the room and saw Isabella and Leo walking towards me. Davis, showing up a little late, are we? Leo called out mockingly. You should know how much Isabella hates it when people are late. Isabella glared at me, her eyes filled with disapproval. You show me those projects and then do nothing to move them forward. And now you show up late. You had better have a good explanation. I glanced at Leo's triumphant smirk and replied, whoever is assigned to those projects can work on them. It has nothing to do with me. Isabella was stunned that I would defy her. What's that supposed to mean? We're a team here. Working with Leo on these projects will be good for you, too. Leo immediately handed her a glass of water and began rubbing her back soothingly. I saw a faint blush creep up Isabella's neck as Leo's hand lingered a little too long. She cleared her throat and turned her anger back to me. You've already wasted a year of your life doing nothing. Do you have any ambition at all? You see those boxes? Get back to work right now, and I'll only dock 1 month's pay. Otherwise, you can pack them up and take a job with the janitorial staff. I let out a cold laugh. I couldn't believe she would debase me like this, all for him. If I had known she would lose all sense of proportion like this, I never would have enabled her arrogance in the first place. Isabella, calm down, Leo interjected smoothly. Davis is probably just feeling a little left out after my party last night. He's just acting out. His words instantly changed her demeanor. She patted my shoulder condescendingly and started unpacking one of the boxes. You're a grown man. You need to learn to control that temper. I'll let it slide this time, but if it happens again, there won't be a next time. I said, placing my hand over hers to stop her. I quit. Isabella stared at me in disbelief. What do you mean you quit? You can't quit without my permission. I cut her off. It means exactly what it sounds like. My defiance made her face flush with rage, and she swept a stack of files off a nearby desk. You dare talk to me like that? Fine. Get out. Get out right now, and forget about the janitor job. Seeing the situation escalate, Leo dropped all pretense and wrapped his arm around Isabella's waist. You still don't see you're in the wrong, Davis, he said, pulling her closer. You've made Isabella so angry. If she makes one call, you'll never work in this city again. I gave him an icy stare. A plagiarizing, self-taught fraud doesn't get to speak here. The words were barely out of my mouth before the sharp sting of a slap exploded across my face, leaving a red handprint. What did you just say? Isabella screamed. Apologize to him right now, or I'm calling security. I licked a drop of blood from the corner of my lip and looked her dead in the eye. I'm telling the truth. And one more thing. The board has appointed a new acting CEO. As of this moment, you're the one who needs to leave. At this, the silent crowd of onlookers erupted in shocked whispers. Isabella stared at me, refusing to believe it. Davis, who the hell do you think you are? She spat. You don't call the shots here. Leo chimed in with a sneer. Maybe you should get your head checked, Davis. A year in prison must have made you lose your mind. He shot a look at the onlookers, and a few of his sycophants started to chime in. They were generous enough to let a convict back in the office, and this is how he repays them. I'm calling security. His presence is contaminating the office. I silently counted down in my head. Just as the man finished speaking, a group of people entered the office. The head of building security was in the lead, followed by 2 police officers and Mr. Thompson, the company lawyer. I thought they were calling security. Why are the police here? Someone whispered. Amid the confusion, Mr. Thompson spoke, his voice cutting through the noise. I am here on behalf of the chairman, Mr. Harrison, to terminate the employment of Isabella Miller and to assist the Chicago Police Department in arresting Leo Vance, the true perpetrator in the plagiarism case. A collective gasp went through the room. All the arrogance drained from Leo's face, and he scrambled to hide behind Isabella. Isabella, ignoring the part about her own termination, stepped forward to defend him. Mr. Thompson, Davis's guilt was proven with concrete evidence. He served his time. You can't just come in here with the police and arrest an innocent man. Mr. Thompson shot her a look of contempt. We'll see about that. The police have more than enough new evidence to warrant this. Isabella had always disliked Mr. Thompson for defending me in the past, and she opened her mouth to argue. But one of the officers cut her off. Ma'am, please do not interfere with a police investigation. We need the suspect to come with us. The officer's tone was firm. Isabella glanced back at Leo, still ready to fight, but he stepped out from behind her. Davis, I can't believe you're still holding a grudge after all this time, he said, playing the martyr. If you're so convinced it was my fault, fine. I'll go with them. He then lowered his voice. But you should think about this. Forging evidence, calling the cops to the office. This will look terrible for the company and for Isabella. When Mr. Harrison finds out, how is she going to save face? He finished with a look of deep, feigned devotion at Isabella. Moved by his performance, she turned her fury back on me. So this is it, Davis? You're so consumed by your grudge that you would publicly humiliate me and risk the company's reputation? I don't care what fake evidence you've cooked up. Call this off right now while you still can. Il left to here audacity. You think the police just show up for fun? They wouldn't be here unless the evidence was irrefutable. I know exactly what is and is not fake. A trip downtown for Leo will clear everything up. The onlookers who had been enjoying the drama were now starting to understand the real situation. Still, a few of Leo's supporters tried to defend him, listing his supposed accomplishments as proof that he would never need to plagiarize. If Leo wasn't the real deal, why would CEO Miller support him over her own husband? One of them argued. Everyone knows how much she values talent. The more they talked, the more I had to laugh. She helps him because they're having an affair. As I said it, Mr. Thompson handed me a file. I opened it, revealing photos of Isabella and Leo on private dates, taken both before and during my time in prison. They were intimate in restaurants, parks, and hotels, so brazen they never imagined the private investigator I had hired was documenting everything. And as for that impressive resume you mentioned, I continued, it's all thanks to Isabella abusing her authority to put his name on other people's work. I looked around at the other developers. In fact, I would bet some of you in this room have had your ideas stolen by him. It wouldn't be hard for a hacker like him to get into your systems. A hush fell over the crowd. You could see the gears turning in their heads as they recalled past inconsistencies. They were shocked to realize Leo had been the other man all along. Isabella, seeing she was losing control, tried a new tactic. The innocent have nothing to fear, she declared loudly. A trip to the station will prove everything. The only reason to resist is if you have something to hide. I didn't give her a chance to rally support, cutting off her every attempt to speak. Besides, this was now about their own careers and intellectual property. No one was going to defend a thief who might have stolen from them. Seeing her allies abandon her, Isabella bit her lip in frustration. I have worked so hard for this company for years. How can you stand there and slander me like this? She cried. Don't forget, I'm still your boss. One word to HR, and all of you spreading these rumors will be fired. I just shook my head and held up a document in my hand. Since you won't accept the truth until it's staring you in the face, take a good look at this. Her eyes widened in fury and disbelief as she read the termination agreement. With a scream of rage, she tore it to pieces. I had anticipated this. I took another copy from Mr. Thompson. I have plenty more. Tear them all if you like. It won't change the facts. I had never spoken to her with such coldness. I had never been the one to crush her when she was spiraling. After tearing up a few more copies, the reality of the situation finally sank in for Isabella. I've given this company everything. You can't just fire me. One mistake leads to another, Mr. Thompson said, speaking for me. If it weren't for Leo Vance, you wouldn't be in this position. Isabella's face fell, but even now, her first instinct was to protect Leo. He glanced nervously at the police and then whispered something in her ear. A flicker of confidence returned to her face. Fine, I'll go, she announced. But I want my severance package. Every last cent, as stipulated in my contract. In her mind, with that money in her savings, she could easily start over. But things were not about to go her way. Mr. Thompson let out a cold laugh. Ms. Miller, I suggest you read the contract you signed yesterday. The one that nullifies your severance and instead holds you liable for $10 million in damages for the projects you mismanaged. Isabella couldn't believe her ears. She snatched the contract from his hand and flipped to the last page. Seeing her own signature, she cried, "This is impossible. I never signed this." I watched her melt down with detachment. You signed it yesterday, I said quietly, when you were so busy handing those projects to Leo. The memory of her signing the papers without reading them hit her, and all the fight went out of her. Davis, she whispered, her voice breaking. After all our years together, you conspired with outsiders to trap me. She stepped forward, reaching for my hand. I know I neglected you. I know I hurt you, but that's no reason to betray me like this. If I lose this job, what happens to us? How will we live? Have you given any thought to our future? Our future? I laughed and shook her hand off. Where was your concern for our future when you were pinning another man's crime on me? When you were grinding my dignity into the dust? Seeing I was unmoved, her voice grew frantic. We were supposed to go on our honeymoon. What about all our plans? We're a married couple, Davis. That $10 million is our debt. And if this investigation goes public, my reputation will be ruined, which means your name gets dragged through the mud, too. In the past, any mention of our marriage was enough to make me compromise. She let the words hang in the air, confident they would work their old magic. Finally, I met her desperate gaze. You're right, I said. Husband and wife are one. She nodded eagerly, about to press her advantage, but I cut her off by pulling another document from my briefcase. The divorce papers. It's just a shame, I said calmly, that we are no longer husband and wife. I didn't have to say anything else. I could see her mind racing, trying to remember. When she still couldn't place it, I offered a helpful reminder. Prison. Her eyes widened in shock. I came to visit you in prison out of the goodness of my heart, hoping you had learned your lesson, and you were planning to divorce me even then? Davis, you planned this all along, didn't you? You were planning your revenge. I corrected her. This isn't revenge. This is you facing the consequences of your own actions. I asked her honestly, would you have ever visited me if you didn't need to keep me quiet for Leo's sake? You're the one who checked out of this marriage long ago. Why shouldn't I have wanted a divorce? Her aggressive posture began to crumble. How could you have done all this? She stammered. You had no money, no power. Her face grew pale as the implications dawned on her. It was then that Mr. Thompson stepped forward again. Mr. Wright has always been the holder of 50% of this company's shares, he announced. He has always had, and will always have, the full backing of the board. He looked directly at Isabella. If it weren't for Mr. Wright repeatedly vouching for you, a person of your caliber would never have caught Mr. Harrison's attention, let alone held the position of acting CEO. The words struck her like a bolt of lightning, and she completely collapsed. No wonder, she mumbled over and over. Then, as if grasping at a final straw, she turned to me, her eyes pleading. Davis, I was wrong. I had no idea you did all that for me. If I had known, I swear I never would have done any of this. You want an apology from Leo, don't you? I'll make him apologize right now. Before she could finish, Leo rushed over and bowed deeply. Davis, it was all my fault. Please don't take it out on Isabella. You two have always been the perfect couple. You can't get divorced over something so trivial. Anything between Isabella and me was just a misunderstanding. Seeing him groveling like this was simply pathetic. His apology was sincere now, of course, but would he be this terrified if he had not just learned who I really was? Once or twice can be a misunderstanding, I said, not even bothering to look at him. But dozens of times? You did the crime, now you'll do the time. Isabella clearly never taught you that actions have consequences. So I will. I finally turned to look at them both. As for your beautiful relationship, I'll wait until he gets out of prison to wish you two a long and happy life together. I had nothing more to say. I nodded to Mr. Thompson and the officers. The same colleagues who had mocked me just minutes before now stood silent, parting like the sea to let the officers through. In an instant, they had Leo surrounded. Isabella covered her face, sobbing. How can you just push me away to be with someone else? Davis, have you forgotten everything we had together? She looked up at me, her face a mess of tears. I admit it was all my fault. I'll do anything. Scold me, punish me. I'll listen to whatever you say from now on. I'll be the perfect wife. I never imagined that the proud Isabella Miller could sound so pathetic. Memories of our past flashed through my mind, a time when our love was simple and pure. But even the best things can curdle over time. I reached out and gently wiped a tear from her cheek. If you had known it would end like this, would you have done it all differently? I let my hand drop. The moment you chose him over me at that party, our future was over. Seeing the officers about to cuff him, Leo threw himself to the ground and knelt before me, grabbing my pant leg. Davis, I'm sorry. I admit everything. Just call them off, please. I swear I'll disappear. You'll never see me again, he begged. My parents, if they find out I'm in prison, it will kill them. Isabella nodded frantically in agreement. They were a perfect pair, even when they were begging. They had no idea that when my own parents heard I had been sent to prison, they had disowned me on the spot. I kicked his hand away. If you didn't want to get caught, you shouldn't have done it. Leo stayed on the floor, stunned. After a moment of silence, his head snapped up, and he pointed a trembling finger at Isabella. It was her. It was all her idea. She put me up to it. I glanced at Isabella. Her face was a mask of horror. She clearly never expected him to turn on her. Leo, what are you talking about? She stammered. He scrambled to his feet. I just came to you for a little help getting a job. You were the one who kept tempting me, pushing me to take on those projects. I'm not Davis. I don't have his skills. Isabella was flabbergasted. I was doing it for you. How can you blame me for this? Leo laughed coldly. For my good? If you really cared about me, you would have divorced him and been with me. Then I wouldn't have had to do any of this, and you could have kept playing CEO. Isabella was horrified that he would air their dirty laundry in public. She slapped him hard across the face. How could I ever divorce Davis? You know he's the man I love. Leo dropped the act entirely, his voice rising to a hysterical shriek. Oh, he's the one you love? Then what am I? You never said no to me, not once. How can you talk about love? What about my feelings for you? Was I just supposed to live in his shadow forever, watching him have the perfect career and the perfect wife? Isabella stared at the resentful man before her, unable to reconcile him with the gentle Leo she thought she knew. After everything I did for you, you blame me? Don't you have any gratitude? She pleaded. I betrayed Davis to protect you, to clean up your messes. You can't be this heartless. Leo's expression was pure venom. He looked at her like she was a joke. You make it sound so noble, playing two men at once. Did you really think you could have it all? He sneered. Since you love helping me so much, why don't you do my prison time for me? Isabella was utterly shattered by his true colors, and even I was surprised by the depths of his shamelessness. Enough, she screamed, her eyes bloodshot as she slowly got to her feet. I knew the sting of betrayal from someone you trust. Now, finally, so did she. I will testify that Davis Wright was framed, she said, her voice shaking with rage. The real culprit is Leo Vance. I conspired with him to pin the crime on my husband. Leo lunged to silence her, but she sidestepped him easily. She walked steadily toward the police officers, pulling her phone from her purse. And that's not all, she said, her voice now cold and clear. I have proof of every illegal hack he's ever committed. The situation had turned on a dime in a way no one could have predicted. When she was done, she turned and looked at me, her gaze steady. Davis, I was blind. I should have listened to you, she said. Now I've ended it. Please don't hate me. Can we please try to save what we had? I was about to answer when a sharp click of high heels approached rapidly from down the hall. A sharp, clear female voice cut through the tension in the lobby. Infidelity, betrayal, and covering for a criminal. To think there's anything left to save is pure delusion, Ms. Miller. The woman walked directly up to me, removed her sunglasses, and extended a hand. Mr. Wright, a pleasure to meet you. I'm the new acting CEO appointed by the chairman. As I shook her hand, I thought I felt it tremble slightly. The evidence and testimony are all here, she said, her voice all business. Security, please escort these two out. Everyone else, back to work. She released my hand and put her sunglasses back on. It was so smooth and professional that I wondered if I had imagined the tremor. With the new evidence and Isabella's full confession, Leo's conviction was swift. The charges piled up, and he was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. Isabella, for her role in the cover-up and evidence tampering, received a 1-year suspended sentence. The moment the judge read the verdict, I felt the weight of the past year finally lift from my shoulders. As I walked out of the courthouse, I saw my parents standing in the sunlight, and next to them was the new CEO, Chloe Jenkins. I figured you would want them to be the first to hear the good news. So I took the liberty of bringing them here, she said, her gaze avoiding mine. I thank her, and then my father pulled me into a tight hug. We failed you as parents, son, he said, his voice thick with emotion. My mother was already crying, lightly hitting my father's chest. I told you our Davis would never do something like that. I told you. I wrapped my arms around them both, unable to speak, letting my tears say everything. It's all over now, I whispered. After settling my parents down, I went back to the office with Chloe. Thank you for bringing my parents today, I said. And thank you for what you did for me back there in the lobby. She seemed surprised for a moment. You could tell I was doing that on purpose? I smiled and shrugged. Of course. You're not that ruthless with anyone else. I had observed her over the past few days. While she was an aggressive person by nature, she was also thoughtful and kind. Chloe laughed, a little embarrassed. Oh, I was worried you would think I was too harsh on your ex-wife. Considering her history, I knew what she was getting at. There was nothing left between us long before today. I couldn't be sure, but I thought I saw her eyes light up for a second. Well, let me give you the proper tour, she said, her professional demeanor returning. We're going to need your leadership to take this company to the next level. I gestured for her to lead the way, but she didn't move. Instead, She gently touched a scar on my hand. "It must have been terrible in there," she said softly. "To go through all of that." She traced the scar. "You already had this old injury, and she just gave you a new one to go with it." I looked at her, confused. The old scar was from years ago. How could she possibly know about it? Realizing she had said too much, Chloe cleared her throat. "Come on, let's go see the tech department. I had them set up a new office for you." I didn't press the issue, following her down the hallway. In the months that followed, under Chloe's leadership, the company thrived. We broke every record, and our projects grew larger and more ambitious than ever. Mr. Harrison was overjoyed. He told us we were the best thing that had ever happened to his company. He also told me something else, Chloe's story. He told me about her past and why she had really joined the company. It turned out she had turned down a much better offer overseas, all to come here for me. After leaving Mr. Harrison's office, I went straight to find Chloe. Before I could say a word, she put her hands over her ears. "Davis, I don't care what you're going to say. I'm not leaving. I chose to be here, and I'm not giving up. Don't you dare try to use your past, being married, being in prison, any of that to push me away." Looking at this flustered version of the usually composed Chloe, I couldn't help but smile. She thought I was trying to get rid of her. "I wasn't going to say any of that," I said gently. "I just wanted to ask how long you have felt this way." We were both adults. I could see the truth in her eyes, and I wanted to give us a chance to be honest. She lowered her hands, her expression uncertain, and then she told me everything about her crush that had lasted for years. From our time at Northwood University to her years working abroad, I had always been the one for her. She knew all the little details about my life, even about that old injury, the one I had gotten and dealt with all by myself. "You made me want to be a better person," she finished. "And now I'm finally ready to stand by your side. So what about you? Are you willing to give me a chance?" It would be a lie to say I was not moved, but my history with Isabella was a heavy burden. Sensing my hesitation, she smiled gently. "It's okay if you're not ready. We have time." She never brought it up again after that day, but I found myself thinking about her more and more, at work and outside of it. We fell into a natural, easy rhythm. I slowly realized that my feelings for her were real. One sunny afternoon, I told her yes. A year later, we held a beautiful wedding at the Langham. Another year passed. Chloe, her face glowing with happiness, leaned against me, holding our baby daughter in her arms. The evening sun bathed us in golden light at the park. As we started to head home, I saw a disheveled figure hurrying away in the distance. I was sure it was Isabella. She had none of her old fire, none of her old arrogance. "What are you looking at?" Chloe asked, taking my free hand. I laced my fingers through hers. "Nothing," I said. I squeezed her hand. "Just someone who doesn't matter anymore." We walked on into the light, a gentle breeze carrying the scent of flowers. Everything was better now, and our future was bright.